Hey English learners, are you ready to speak English with more confidence and enjoy real conversations without feeling nervous? Today, we are going to learn something very useful for your daily life. In this lesson, I will show you the best and easiest questions you can use to start small talk, continue a conversation, and sound natural like a real English speaker. We will also learn what questions you should not ask, and at the end, they will find quiz the key. So let's start this journey together. Small talk is a short and friendly conversation that people have in daily life. It is simple, easy, and not very deep. You can use small talk with your friends, your co-workers, your neighbors, and even with people you do not know. You can use small talk almost everywhere. For example, you can use it at a party, at an event, in a cafe, on a bus, on the plane, while waiting in a line, or even before a class or meeting starts. It helps you feel more comfortable and connected with people. And the big question is, how do we start small talk? Most people begin with very simple greeting. For example, hi, how are you? Good morning, how are you doing? Hey, how is it going? These are very common and very easy. There's also a very casual sentence. What's up? This is very friendly, so you should use this with friends or people close to your age. Now, maybe you are thinking, okay, I understand as, but how do I answer? Here are some simple and natural answers. You can say, great, what about you? Or good, how about you? Or even not bad, and you. You can also just say good. A simple answer is always okay. So now let's see how a small conversation sounds. One person says, hi, how is it going? The other person says, great, what about you? And the first person says, good. You see? Very easy, very simple. But now, next, what do we say after that? Once you are at a special place like a party, event, or cafe, you can ask simple questions to continue the conversation. For example, you can ask, what brings you here? This means, why did you come here today? You can also ask, do you know many people here? This means, did you come alone or with friends? Another good question is this your first time here? Or do you come here often? All these questions have to keep talking. Let's see a simple conversation examples. Hi, how are you? Great. What about you? Good. What brings you here tonight? A friend of mine is performing, so I came to watch. Oh, nice. I just wanted to see this place. See, the conversations keep going naturally. Now, another very common topic is asking about where someone is from. You can say, are you from around here? This is a very good and safe question. You can also say, do you live here or are you just visiting? But be careful with questions like, where are you from? Because sometimes people may feel uncomfortable, especially if they sound like you are asking about their background in a sensitive way. So the best safe option is, do you live here or are you visiting? Now let's move to another important topics. Work. In some cultures, asking about work can feel too personal, but in many English-speaking countries, it is normal and acceptable. You can ask, what kinds of work do you do? What do you do for a living? Are you working or studying? These questions are very common. For example, hi, how's it going? Good. How about you? Great. Are you from around here? No, I'm just visiting my sister. Oh, nice. I just moved here for work. Really? What kinds of work do you do? Here, it is not rude because the person already talked about work. So always listen carefully. If someone mentions something, you can ask more about it. Now let's talk about one of the most popular topics in small talk: weekend plans. People love to talk about what they will do on the weekends. You can ask, do you have any plans for weekends? What are you doing this weekend? Are you doing anything fun? For example, hey, how are you? Pretty good. And you? Good. Do you have any plan for the weekend? Not yet, but I might try a new restaurant. Oh, nice. And you? I'm going to a football game. This is how you keep the conversation alive and interesting. Now let's talk about hobbies and free time. Instead of asking, what is your hobby? Which sounds a little strange in real conversation. You should say, what you do for fun, or what you like to do in your free time. These are very natural questions. For example, hi, how's it going? Not bad, and you? Good. So, what do you do for fun? I love watching movies. Oh, nice. Me too. Have you seen any good movies recently? Now you have a new topic: movies. And this is how small talk grows into a longer conversation. Now let's talk about something very powerful in conversation: complaints. Compliments. Yes, you can say something nice to the other person, and this can make conversation more friendly and warm. But you must be careful. You should not sound strange or comfortable. A good rule is compliment is not the body. For example, you can say, that's a cool t-shirt. Where did you get it? That's a nice laptop. What brand is it? Cool tattoo. Is there any story behind it? I like your hair color. Is this natural? These are safe and friendly. But do not say things like this. You have nice eyes. You have beautiful legs. This can make people feel uncomfortable, especially if you don't know them. Now let's see a simple example. Hi, how are you? Good, and you? Great. I really like your t-shirt. Are you in an anime? Yes. I started watching after my trip to Japan. Oh, nice. Where did you go in Japan? Now the conversation continues easily because you opened a new topic. Now let's talk about something very important. What questions you should not ask? Some questions that you personal, and they can make people feel uncomfortable. For example, avoid this. Are you married? Do you have kids? Do you have boyfriends or girlfriends? How old are you? How much money do you make? These questions are too private, especially when you're talking about to someone you just met. But what if you really want that as something personal? There is a polite way to do this. First, you say something to show respect. For example, sorry for asking, but I hope you don't mind me asking. I don't mean to be rude, but may I ask? For example, sorry for asking, but are you married? I hope you don't mind me asking, but how old are you? May I ask if you are working or studying? This makes your question softer and more polite. Now here is the small grammar tips. When you use may I ask, the sentence structure changes. You say, may I ask where are you from? Not may I ask where are you from? Not. And may I ask if you are married? Not may I ask if you married. This small change is very important. Now